morning, everyone. This is the Committee on Rules. We have attained a quorum with Councilman Squilla, Vice Chair of the Committee, Councilman Jones, Councilman Heenan, and Councilman Johnson. Just for the record, and we will make a formal motion in the meeting, Bill 160916, at the request of the sponsor, will be held to our next meeting, which is November 30th, 2016, at 10 a.m. And again, we will make a formal motion on that just to follow all the rules in the public meeting. Ms. Marconi, will you please read the title of the first bill before us today?
Bill number 160715, an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Front Street, Amber Street, Lehigh Avenue, and Emerald Street. Marty Grigorski.
Mr. Grigorski.
Good morning, Chairman Greenlee, members of the Rules Committee. I'm Marty Grigorski, Division Director with the Development Division of the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 160715, which was introduced by Councilmember Squilla on September 8th of this year. Bill number 160715 makes technical changes to Bill number 160336, which the City Planning Commission recommended for approval at its meeting of May 17th of this year. Bill number 160715 rezones 2 blocks in the area generally bounded by Front Street, Amber Street, Lehigh Avenue, and Emerald Street in East Kensington from CMX-2 neighborhood commercial mixed use to CMX-2.5 neighborhood commercial mixed use. The bill rezones a property on Carl Street between Huntington Street and Lehigh Avenue from RM1 residential multifamily to CMX-2 neighborhood commercial mixed use to accommodate a business relocation. City Planning Commission at its meeting of September 20th, 2016, recommended Bill number 160715 be approved as a matter in accord with previous policy, and I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Any questions? Seeing none. Anyone else here to testify on Bill number 160715? Seeing none. Ms. Marconi, our next bill, please.
Bill number 160716, an ordinance amending Chapter 14-600 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Use Regulations by modifying certain standards for ground floor uses in the CMX-2 and CMX-2.5 districts.
Good morning, Councilman Greenlee, members of the Rules Committee. I'm Marty Grigorski, Division Director with the Development Division of the Philadelphia City Planning Commission, and I'm here to testify on Bill number 160716, which was introduced in the City Council on September 8th of this year by Councilman Squilla. Bill number 160716 amends the Philadelphia zoning maps by modifying certain standards for ground floor uses in the CMX-2 and CMX-2.5 neighborhood commercial mixed-use districts. This change will require that all CMX-2 and CMX-2.5 zone properties require first-floor non-residential uses in the ground floor of these commercial properties, regardless of the building type. Currently, the code permits residential use on the first floor of detached structures. Both CMX-2 and CMX-2.5 are zoning districts are mapped along and intended for commercial corridors. To create a cohesive and vibrant corridors, it is important for the non-residential fabric of the first floor pedestrian experiences to be consistent. The Philadelphia City Planning Commission considered Bill number 160716 at its meeting of September 20th, 2016, and recommended it for approval, and I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Grigorski. The record will please reflect that Councilman Taubenberger, a member of the committee, is present. Any questions for Mr. Grigorski on this bill? Seeing none, is there anyone else here to testify on Bill number 160716? Come forward, please. Just state your name for the record and proceed, please.
My name is Steve Murphy. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Speak a little closer to the microphone, please.
I just had a couple questions that I want everyone to consider that this zoning change to 2 and 2.5 may cause.
Okay.
Has anyone considered the implications for less affluent neighborhoods in the city of Philadelphia? Neighborhoods not like Society Hill and Northern Liberties and Old City, where there is plenty of developers that are teaming to do projects, but other areas like Germantown and Northeast Philly and portions of Roxborough that would love to attract development.
Councilman Squilla?
Yes, I know when we introduced the bill, actually, that was part of it, even in Kensington areas. The intent is to reinitialize these commercial corridors to make sure that people and developers don't come in and then go in there and make them residential uses when we're trying to build up these commercial corridors in these exact areas. And we found out that some of the developers were actually trying to do that. That really caused the problem for us here in the city of Philadelphia. As the trend is going, more and more people are seeing commercial corridors come back alive. And if we have people going in there as of right, being able to make them residential uses, it would destroy that opportunity from happening in the future. So therefore, we actually took that into account, and part of the reason why this bill is the way it is to actually encourage that use. Now, we know it's harder to get some commercial uses in some of those areas, but we're able to work them, and that's why some of them are changing from 2.0 to, 2 to 2.5 to allow you more density above. So if you want to do residential, you could go to 55 feet instead of 38 feet and encourage the developer to come in and make additional resources that way, and therefore be able to make the project more successful.
Councilman Heenan, you had a statement?
You know what, thank you for coming here today and your question. I think Councilman, had mentioned it. We as a city, and I'm going to ask Marty about this, we're trying to revive our commercial corridors, trying to encourage people to buy local and to have a lot more foot traffic and feel safe. There's a lot of incentive programs. You get the storefront improvement program. You have a lot of in-store commercial programs where, we can incentivize commercial corridor to commercial corridor to spur up additional businesses. And as the communities get more engaged and more involved, we adjust. And I was just going to point out, we've increased the density for residential allowed on 2.5. It's vertical, and it's allowing more residential per square foot. But dealing with the setbacks, and I'm glad that the councilman had the technical amendment here, because it really does give people the opportunity for more foot traffic and to actually buy goods and consume products right here that are built locally. So I think when you look at the bigger picture in planning, I think this really fits nicely in that. When I experience it in my district, as we're growing, our commercial corridors are growing. It's not like a Passyunk Avenue that is probably at its limits, and we can learn by their great experience. Same thing with Ogons Avenue and some of the other commercial corridors in Old City. So I'm learning, all right, and we are adjusting accordingly. And I think it's a very good amendment. And but I did want to point out that we have increased the height to allow more density for residential, and I think we've learned through our past experiences what is working and what is not. So, thank you.
Thank you. And the record will please reflect that Councilwoman Bass, a member of the committee, is present. Did you have something else you wanted to add?
Well, I just want to dovetail on this thing. I happen to live near a commercial district, Chelton Avenue, between Germantown Avenue and Wissahickon Avenue, and there's 13 vacant spaces in a 3-block radius. And all I'm trying to say here is, I think that there are some neighborhoods that are trying so hard to attract developers that it's somewhat overlooked that there are developers that don't even want to touch certain neighborhoods. And certain neighborhoods already have commercial districts that were set up 50, 100 years ago that are wonderful commercial districts that have already been planned. The zoning code isn't creating commercial districts. It's just implementing zoning in already planned, they already exist, is what I'm trying to say. So if you have a developer and commercial development on the ground floor isn't feasible for a number of reasons, even if you go vertical, there's increased construction costs. But if you have 13 vacant spaces of all sizes, these aren't just small 500 square foot storefronts in residential buildings. These are, 40-foot wide, big commercial buildings that are vacant, and there's no demand for them because residential hasn't caught up in certain neighborhoods like it's caught up in the affluent neighborhoods of Old City and Rittenhouse Square. It's almost like there's two different sides of the city of Philadelphia. There's a side where commercial development on the ground floor works very well, and it's very successful, and the other side of the coin, I mean, this is the truth. Anyone can go down some of these commercial districts. It is not feasible. And I just want to make sure that the legislation doesn't benefit certain affluent neighborhoods and then put other neighborhoods in the city of Philadelphia that are desperately trying to get developers to come in and have people live in their neighborhood, which will spur commercial development, doesn't cut it off economically.
Well, let me just say this. First of all, if there's certain areas or a certain location, there's always possibility of asking for a variance. Am I right, Mr. Gregorski?
Correct. That would still
So,
be-
I mean, if there's something that doesn't work in a particular area, that's what zoning variances are for. But I think the purpose behind this is that to show that, like you say, there's residential, people want to have residential. I think commercial helps people coming into a residential area, that there's a commercial strip that people, that offer a variety of commercial availability. So I think that's the idea behind this, to keep it consistent. And again, if there's some particular strip or some particular address that people need, that people feel that residential is more beneficial, they have the right to ask for a variance. But I think the idea of keeping it consistent, to me, seems to make sense. Councilman Jones, you had something?
And I appreciate your comments, and we take them very seriously. As someone who worked in commercial corridor development at PCDC, Philadelphia Commercial Development Corporation, there's always an ebb and flow of demand, receding demand, and then increasing demand. And in areas where population shifts happen, I don't think, I remember my father working at a bindery and a clothing manufacturer. Well, those kinds of uses aren't really coming back. So it is appropriate to think about reuse of that in a residential manner. But what I would caution you against is, as prosperity comes back, one of the ideal scenarios for commercial corridors is to be able to provide people basic retail where they can get to it, where they can walk to it. Every environmentalist I talk to suggests that a form of green is to find fewer distance between point of sale and point of origin. So if we can grow it here, sell it here, if we can manufacture it here and sell it here, it's better. We use less gas, and so that's, everybody that is in planning is suggesting that. So as we contemplate these things, when you look at a Passyunk Avenue, I remember it was an area where people, after the sun went down, avoided. It is now a vibrant area where there are no roll-down gates. There are people that have actually moved upstairs, and the mixed-use aspect of it is a plus. So we have to plan, and we have to think about it, and we have to follow the trends. And I just don't want us zoning away bread, milk, cheese, eggs, butter that people need every day, and they have to go to the big box store to go get it. And so the quaintness of Philadelphia is the fact that we have shops. I have Ridge Avenue. There's still a shoes repair store there, which is not your big box or anything, but it is a staple of a community that prizes the fact that they have that unique opportunity. So I don't want us to turn into everybody else. And I don't want us to overdevelop residential to the point that commercial development doesn't happen. So that's just my opinion.
Thank you, Councilman. Marty, did you
Yeah,
want to?
just to add that you need to take this bill in the context of the zoning remapping program. There are areas of the city that commercial's gone, it's probably not coming back. We're going around the city and rezoning them to allow residential uses or some other use. But we're taking a look, in many places we found that the commercial strips are too long. So we're squeezing them in and pushing the commercial to come at the focal points of the strips. Let's say Fifth and Olney, we we take the edges off and bring them in so that the commercial's more vibrant there, allowing for residential on the edges. But we've got about 40% of the city remappings completed. They have to go through council. We expect to continue to keep moving, but there will be areas for sure that commercial's been gone for 30 years. We don't expect it to come back. The market doesn't seem to want it there. And we'll be rezoning that to allow residential uses.
Gotcha. Okay. Any other question? Councilman Squilla?
Thank you, too. And I just want to add, and I know because we meet with developers all the time and they have these certain concerns, and that's a perfect example of hardship. When you go in front of the zoning board and you have an example of hardship of why you need to do certain things, and if our zoning is not correct, the 2035 plan is what's doing that. We've been remapping all our areas, all our neighborhoods in our areas, and even though we remap some, we're going back and remapping them again. So, that's going to be a constant flow and change, and your input and help could also help doing that within every district you're developing in or building in. Work with your council person to look at certain areas and that civic association to look at remapping that area to make it more easier for people to develop and what the plan is for that whole community. So, again, thank you for your question, and hopefully you understand at least what we're trying to do.
Thank you.
Yeah, I am not a developer, just for the record. I'm just a citizen in the neighborhood.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
I just figured I would come and...
Anyone else here to testify on
Thank you.
bill number
No one else is here.
160716? Okay, seeing none. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Marconi, the next bill, please.
Bill number 160776, an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Front Street, Oregon Avenue, 10th Street, and Schuylkill Expressway.
Morning, Chairman Greenlee, members of the Rules Committee. I'm Marty Gregorski, Division Director of the Development Planning Division of the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. Here to testify on bill number 160776, which was introduced by Councilmember Squilla on September 15th of this year. Bill number 160776 proposes to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps to change the zoning of specific parcels of land in the area generally bounded by Front Street, Oregon, 10th Street, and the Schuylkill Expressway from RM1 residential multifamily to RSA 5 residential single family, and from CMX-2 neighborhood commercial mixed use to CMX-1 neighborhood commercial mixed use. This is a basic corrective rezoning originating from the South District Plan adopted in 2015 by the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. Bill number 160776 proposes to downzone multifamily residential to single-family residential in order to preserve the existing single-family land uses. Since there is an excess of properties zoned for corner store commercial, many of which no longer support a commercial use, it also proposes to downzone some CMX-2 commercial mixed-use parcels to CMX-1 commercial mixed use, so that a commercial use is not required on the first floor of the properties. At its meeting of October 18, 2016, the City Planning Commission recommended that bill number 160776 for approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, anyone else here to testify on bill number 160776? Seeing none, Ms. Marconi, our next one, please.
Bill number 160917, an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Charles Street, Unruh Avenue, Marsden Street, Levick Street, Cottage Street, Devereaux Avenue, Marsden Street, Benner Street, Dittman Street, Cheltenham Avenue, Harbison Avenue, Charles Street, Conley Street, Mulberry Street, Harbison Avenue, and Devereaux Avenue.
Thank you. Mr. Gregorski.
Good morning, Councilman Greenlee, members of the Rules Committee. I'm Marty Gregorski, the Division Director of the Development Division of the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on bill number 160917, which was introduced in the City Council on October 20th of this year by Councilmember Heenan. Bill number 160917 will amend the zoning designations of certain parcels of land in the streets that were already read. The zoning changes are intended to reflect existing multifamily housing and commercial stores and services. The area is in the North Delaware District Plan, which was adopted by the City Planning Commission in March of 2016. The proposed changes were also reviewed and supported by the members of the community prior to its introduction. Philadelphia City Planning Commission will consider bill number 160917 at its meeting of November 15th, 2016, with a staff recommendation for approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, anyone else here to testify on bill number 160917? Seeing none, Ms. Marconi, our next bill, please.
Bill number 160918, an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Charles Street, Harbison Avenue, and Cheltenham Avenue.
Morning, Councilman Greenlee, members of the Rules Committee. I'm Marty Gregorski, Division Director of the Development Division of the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill Number 160918, which was introduced in the City Council on October 20th, 2016 by Councilmember Sanchez. Bill Number 160918 will amend the zoning designation of certain parcels of land in the Wissinoming neighborhood in an area bounded by Charles Street, Harbison Avenue, and Cheltenham Avenue. The zoning changes are intended to reflect the existing multifamily housing and commercial stores and services. This area is in the North Delaware District Plan, which was adopted by the Planning Commission in March of 2016. And the Philadelphia City Planning Commission will consider Bill Number 160918 at its meeting of November 15th, 2016, with a staff recommendation for approval. And I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Okay. Any questions? Seeing none. Anyone else here to testify on Bill Number 160918? Seeing none. Ms. Marconi, our next bill, please.
Bill number 160865, an ordinance to amend Chapter 14-300 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Administration and Procedures by modifying the public notice requirements and making related changes, all under certain terms and conditions.
Mr. Gregorski, you go first.
Good morning, Chairman Greenlee, members of the Rules Committee. I'm Marty Gregorski, Division Director of the Development Division of the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill Number 160865, which was introduced by Councilmember Heenan on October 6th of this year. Bill Number 160685 proposes to change the public notice requirements in Chapter 14-300 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Administration and Procedures. This bill requires the applicant post all referrals and refusals issued by the Department of License and Inspections, with each of the notices currently required by the Code. The Department of License and Inspections will provide the copies of the referral or refusal, and they are subject to the same posting requirements as the current signed notice. At its meeting of October 18, 2016, the City Planning Commission staff recommended that Bill Number 160865 be approved, and I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you. Why don't we hear from Ms. Swanson, too, please?
Good morning, Chairman Greenlee and members of the Committee on Rules. My name is Rebecca Swanson. I am the Director of Planning for the Department of Licenses and Inspections. I am here to provide testimony on Bill Number 160685, which, if enacted, will amend administrative provisions within the Philadelphia Zoning Code. Specifically, the bill amends Section 14300 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Administration and Procedures to add public notice requirements for zoning refusal and referral information. When a zoning permit is refused by the department because the requested use does not fall within the use of the subject parcel permitted by the zoning code, the permit applicant has the opportunity to request a hearing in front of the Zoning Board of Adjustment to seek a variance to use the parcel in a way not contemplated by the code. Upon the application for appeal, the applicant receives from the department a public notice in the form of a poster that is to be displayed on the subject parcel containing information about the proposed use of the parcel and the date, time, and location of the Zoning Board of Adjustment hearing. This bill would require zoning permit applicants to post alongside of this poster a separate document issued by the department explaining why the zoning permit application was refused. Operationally, this will require the department to provide additional copies of the permit refusal letter issued by the department to the applicant, with the added step of redacting the name and contact information of the plans examiner who issued the refusal. The department supports this bill and is prepared to enforce its provisions should it become law. Thank you for the opportunity to provide the department's testimony. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions for either Mr. Gregorski or Ms. Swanson? Seeing none. Ms. Marconi, I think we have someone else on the record here.
Joe Schiavo and Lucia Esther.
They want to both approach, please. While they're coming up, just for the record, we received letters from both the Logan Square Neighborhood Association and the East Falls Community Council in support of the bill. Ms. Schiavo, why don't you go first?
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Greenlee and members of the committee. My name is Joe Schiavo. I'm speaking today on behalf of the Philadelphia Crosstown Coalition, to which I serve as chair to its Zoning and Land Use Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak favorably regarding Bill 160865. On behalf of the Crosstown Coalition, I wish to thank Councilman Heenan and his staff for sponsoring and introducing this important bill. Currently, the on-site orange zoning notice postings do not inform the public why the posted premises was denied a zoning permit, only that a zoning hearing is scheduled at the request of the zoning applicant. The specific points of refusal are not articulated within the body of the on-site posting, nor are the points of refusal available online on the city's website at this point in the process. If the printed orange zoning notice posting contained the points of refusal, the public would have a much better understanding of the nature and scope of the variances or special exceptions to the code the applicant seeks. In the absence of such detail, interested members of the public have no option but to attend meetings or hearings to uncover the nature and scope of the variances or special exception the applicant is requesting. To date, the city's current software package does not allow L&I to access and incorporate the detail of the refusal into the body of the orange zoning notice forms. Bill 160865 proposes a practical workaround for the current software shortcomings. That is, posting a true copy of the L&I issued refusal directly adjacent to the on-site orange zoning notice. Simple. The Crosstown Coalition believes that this amendment to the current posting procedure proposed by Bill 160865 will greatly improve the standard of zoning notice postings, better inform the public, and have no detrimental impact on the development process. I thank you for your attention and the opportunity to comment on this bill and recommend approval.
Thank you. Please.
Good morning, Chairman Greenlee and members of the Rules Committee. The West Paulton Saunders Park RCO urges the Rules Committee to pass Bill 160865. The availability of correct information is the foundation of democracy. Every applicant for a zoning variance is asking to be excused from the law. Bill 160865 will enable everyone who sees an orange zoning poster to understand the issues that resulted in the refusal. This will enable them to decide if they want to testify at the ZBA hearing and enable them to offer constructive testimony on the specific issues of concern. Bill 160865 is supported by over 20 neighborhood associations who are members of the Crosstown Coalition. West Paulton Saunders Park RCO was on the Crosstown Coalition Committee that recently met with 13 council members or their staff. All 13 council offices understood the importance of this issue. We thank council for supporting this issue and urge the Rules Committee to pass Bill 160865. Thank you.
Thank you. Just state your name for the record. Just say, put your name on record.
Lucia Esther.
Thank you. Any questions for either of the? Seeing none? Anyone else here to testify on Bill number 160865? Seeing none, Ms. Marconi, and there will be an amendment which will be offered at the meeting. Ms. Marconi, our final bill of today.
Bill number 160869, an ordinance to amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Lincoln Drive, Wissahickon Avenue, Schoolhouse Lane, the Oak Road, Midvale Avenue, Crescent Avenue, and Gypsy Lane, and to adopt the master plan for Philadelphia University and approving various construction projects pursuant to that plan, all under certain terms and conditions.
Let him, okay. Ms. Gorski, go ahead.
Good morning, Chairman Greenlee, members of the Rules Committee. I'm Marty Gregorski, Division Director of the Development Planning Division of the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 160869, which was introduced by Councilmember Jones on October 6th of 2016. Bill number 160869 corrects an error in the short title of Bill number 160516, but the content of the bill remains the same. Bill number 160869 amends the Philadelphia zoning maps in the area generally bounded by Lincoln Drive, Wissahickon Avenue, Schoolhouse Lane, the Oak Road, Midvale Avenue, Crescent Avenue, and Gypsy Lane by changing the zoning of the properties of Philadelphia University from various residential zoning designations to SPINS, Institutional Special Purpose District. Bill number 160869 also adopts the newly created master plan for the university. The new master plan would recognize the existing buildings and enable the university to pursue permits for approximately 423,000 square feet of new construction. The Civic Design Review Committee of the City Planning Commission concluded the review of the proposed master plan on July 5th of this year. The City Planning Commission, at its meeting of July 19th, recommended that Bill number 160516 be approved, and at its meeting of October 18th, 2016, recommended that Bill number 160869 for approval. And I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I just want to say this was a well-thought-out, arduous arduous trek that we are here, hopefully to begin the final phases of. In the interim, education as we know it, colleges and universities, has changed. Profit margins or revenue margins have changed drastically, and many universities are struggling to define who they are going to be in the future. Philadelphia University, a fine institution in the 4th District, has merged with Jefferson, and that opportunity will mean prosperity, I think, for both parties going forward. I want to thank Philadelphia University for their patience and consistency in this process in meeting with the community. I want to thank the community for providing valuable input on how they want to define the neighborhood in which they live. And there was a compromise reached after, dozens of meetings, I think it's safe to say. And the compromise was we went from maybe 30 buildings down to potentially 5, and 5 well-thought-out buildings, and maybe more going forward as we consider that. But what it means is the university is on better fiscal ground. What it means is there's opportunity for jobs and construction to expand. What it means is that that neighborhood doesn't suffer, and former Governor Rendell's dog, who is buried on the property, his grave won't be disturbed. And that's what compromise is all about, a win-win-win scenario. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions for Mr. Gregorski or statements? Seeing none, I think Philadelphia University wanted to. I'm sorry.
William Martin, Jeff Cromarty, and Tom Becker.
Mr. Cromarty, I think we have your written testimony.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. William Martin, counsel for Philadelphia University, and joined by Jeff Cromarty, the Chief Operating Officer of the university. We have submitted Mr. Cromarty's testimony, which I don't think it's necessary to read, and you've gotten the background, obviously, from the councilman and also from Mr. Gregorski. We're just here to let you know that the passage of this ordinance continues to be very important to the university, important to have its campus rezoned properly, and also to allow for the development that is forthcoming, at least one building is forthcoming promptly. So in the interest of time, I don't think Mr. Cromarty will offer any direct testimony, but we're here to answer any questions you may have and let you know that we're very interested in this proceeding promptly.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your efforts in this. Seeing no questions or comments? That's always a good thing.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there anyone else here to testify on bill number 160869? Seeing none, and there will be amendments offered at the meeting. That concludes the hearing of the committee, of the Rules Committee. We will now go into a public meeting, and the chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the amendment for bill number 160865 be approved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, the amendment be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the amendment to 160865 is approved.
I move the amendment to bill number 160869 be approved.
Second.
Then moved and seconded on the approval of the amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the amendment is approved. Councilman Squilla?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the bill number 160715, 160716, 160776, 160917, 160918, 160865 as amended, 160869 as amended be approved. With the suspension of the rules to be read at first session of council.
Second now.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the bills as read with the proper amendments by Councilman Squilla will be reported out as committee with favorable recommendation and with the rule suspension to allow for first reading our next session of council. And before we adjourn, one other piece, the chair recognizes Council Members Heenan for a motion on bill number 160916.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that in this public hearing, Bill number 160916, stand in recess until Wednesday, November 3rd, 2016 at 10 a.m.
Second. It's been moved and properly seconded. The public hearing of this committee on bill number 160916 be recessed until Wednesday, November 30th, 2016 at 10 a.m. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries, and the hearing will stand in recess until Wednesday, November 30th at 10 a.m. That concludes the business of this committee. Thank you all very much for your participation.
Thank you.